A 14-meter Maori rock carving that can only be reached by boat. No road leads to it. No walking trail leads to it. Only the waters of Lake Taupō open the path to the steep volcanic cliffs, where a giant face rises from the rock nearly the height of a 5-story building. It seems to watch over the quiet bay, over the boats, over the water breaking against the shore. This is the famous Mine Bay Maori rock carving, one of the most recognizable Maori carvings in New Zealand. At first glance, it looks like an ancient artifact, created hundreds of years ago. But in reality, the story of this carving begins in 1976. The work was created by Maori artist Matahi Wakataka Brightwell. He designed it not as a tourist attraction, but as a deep tribute to his ancestors and the culture of his people. The main figure represents Ngātoro Irangi, a legendary navigator and spiritual leader of the Maori, who, according to tradition, led his people to these lands around 1,000 years ago. The creation of the carving was a true challenge. The work was carried out directly on a vertical cliff, high above the deep waters of Lake Taupō. The artists worked suspended on ropes, hanging over the water, facing wind and constantly changing weather. Every detail was carved by hand, slowly and precisely, because the volcanic rock could crack unexpectedly. The project took nearly 4 years to complete. Over time, the site became one of the most popular attractions on the North Island. But for the Maori, it remains much more than art. It is a living connection to ancestors, to the land, and to a history that cannot be separated from the water, cliffs, and wind of Lake Taupō. And perhaps that is why it can only be reached by boat, as if the path to this face was always meant to be something special. This is not just a face in the stone, it is a symbol of ancestors, protection, and the connection between the Maori and their land and lake. The Maori are the indigenous people of New Zealand. They arrived here about 1,000 years ago from eastern Polynesia in large canoes and settled the islands long before the arrival of Europeans. The Maori have a rich culture, language, and traditions. For them, the connection to nature, ancestors, and the spiritual world is extremely important. Land and water are not seen as resources, but as part of their family and history. That is why places like this carving on Lake Taupō are not just art. They are living memory, carved into stone.